All right, let's dive into something that's probably a huge part of your daily grind. The complete and utter chaos of how we talk to each other at work these days. Seriously, does your workday feel like a never-ending storm of emails, Slack pings, Teams notifications, and back-to-back video calls? I bet you're nodding along right now, and you're definitely not alone. It's like the entire rulebook on how we're supposed to work got thrown out the window basically overnight.
So the big question is, how did we get here? How did we end up in this modern work maze? This wasn't some slow, gradual change. Nope. It was a massive, sudden explosion, really, pushed by some gigantic global forces and even stuff happening right in our own backyards.
Okay, first, let's zoom out and look at the big picture. You had these massive global events, right? The pandemic, obviously, which basically forced everyone to figure out remote work like yesterday. Then you throw in crazy high oil prices and all this economic uncertainty. And yeah, you've got a perfect storm for some really radical changes.
And it wasn't just the huge global stuff either. The source material we're looking at today actually focuses on the Philippines, and it highlights how local problems piled on top of everything else. Think about it. Things like frequent weather disturbances or public transport strikes, they just added another layer of chaos, pushing companies even further into relying on digital, work-from-anywhere setups.
So what's the result of all this pressure? Well, the source material puts it perfectly, an unprecedented acceleration in the evolution of work. And that word, acceleration, is key. This wasn't a slow and steady evolution, it was a full-blown revolution. And the craziest part? We've all just been trying to figure it out as we go, basically flying blind with no instruction manual.
Now, right at the center of this whole chaotic new world of work, there is one single, absolutely critical problem, and that is communication. This is where things really start to get tricky. Just think about how much has changed. It wasn't that long ago that work communication meant, face-to-face meetings, maybe a formal memo. Now it's a total digital free-for-all. We are constantly juggling a flood of emails, non-stop pings on Slack and Teams, what feels like endless video calls, and trying to keep up with updates on a dozen different software platforms. Sure, it's flexible, but wow, is it complicated.
And let's be clear, the stakes are incredibly high. When communication breaks down in this new system, the fallout is serious. We're not just talking about a missed email here. We are talking about, as the research says, amplified confusion, significant project delays, and a real erosion of employee morale. It hits hard. Okay, so we've established we have this massive, new problem on our hands. But here's the real kicker. Most companies are trying to fix it completely blind. And that, right there, is where the real danger is.
And this really gets to the core argument of the research we're looking at. There is this huge gap where data should be. Instead of using actual evidence to figure out what works, most organizations are just, they're guessing. They're running on general assumptions and anecdotal evidence, basically hunches and stories about what they think is effective. And that is a very expensive guessing game to be playing. So when we talk about anecdotal evidence, what do we really mean? It means making big decisions based on personal stories, on gut feelings, instead of on cold, hard data. And in this incredibly complex new work environment, that is literally like trying to find your way through a maze with a blindfold on. It's just not going to work.
But okay, it's not all bad news. The good news is there are people out there who are trying to flip the lights on. They're working to replace all of that guesswork with actual facts. It's basically a quest for evidence.
And that brings us to the source material for today's explainer. It's a research proposal from some incredible students at Regis Murray College in Parañaque in the Philippines. They saw this exact problem happening in companies right there in their community, and they decided, you know what, we're going to do something about this. And their goal? It's simple, but it's so powerful. They want to replace all that risky guesswork with solid data. And how do you do that? Well, you start by asking the really tough, really important questions that nobody else is asking. Questions that get right to the heart of what's really going on.
For example, they're asking, what is the actual link between all that formal communication, official emails, scheduled meetings, and how productive we are? Is it really true that more formal stuff leads to better work? Or is that just an old-school assumption we've never really tested?
And then there's the other side of the coin. What about all the informal chatter? The quick pings, the gifts, the casual check-ins. Do those things actually help us get work done, or are they just a distraction? They want to find the real data to prove it one way or the other. And this might be the most important question of all. They're going straight to the source, asking employees directly,
What are the biggest things getting in your way? What are the real communication barriers you face every single day? Because let's face it, you can't build solutions if you don't even know what the real problems are.
Okay, so you might be thinking, this is a student project in the Philippines. Why does this matter to me? Well, it matters because the problem they're tackling isn't local. It's universal. It's happening everywhere.
I mean, just look at who benefits when we finally have this kind of data. For employees, it means clarity and way less stress. For managers, it means you could actually build teams that click and are way more effective. For the big decision makers, it means you can create policies that actually work instead of just guessing. And for future researchers, it gives them a foundation to build on, to keep pushing our understanding forward. Everybody wins.
So really, the big takeaway here is that this is so much bigger than just one study or one company. It's about a massive shift in how we think. It's about moving away from guesswork and towards making decisions based on real evidence. The ultimate goal? To build workplaces that aren't just more efficient, but are actually happier, healthier, and just plain better places to be for everyone.
So, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. After everything we've talked about today, think about your own job. What is the one thing? It could be tiny, it could be huge. What's the one change that you think could make communication where you work better? Clearer, more effective? Seriously, think about it, because your answer just might be the first step out of the chaos.